Welcome to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake. Joined with me, as always, is the brewing sailor, Mr. Brendan Smith.
Hello, everybody.
And from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast, Mr. Chad Womack.
Morning, folks.
All right, we are back for another week, and we are talking about Indiana Jones 5. So we're finally going to give you our perspective beyond all the early negative reviews. We're going to tell you what we think of it and whether this movie should have been made in the first place, and maybe how certain actors should have probably been recast before this movie ever started shooting. But that's a whole nother topic that we will get into. And we're going to talk about summer blockbuster bombs because we have two between Indiana Jones and The Flash. And what does that say about the rest of the summer? So before we get into that, we do want to talk a couple of things about gaming. A couple of weeks ago, Xbox had their direct show and finally showcased footage of Starfield and some of the gameplay. And as we have been chatting, and as Brendan put it, they knocked it out of the park. We are impressed, and we cannot wait for September 6th. Or 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, September 5th.
It's already, thanks to my lovely, lovely wife, it's already pre-downloaded on my Xbox.
Oh yeah. I've already cleared some space. In fact, the only thing I've got to do is invest in that expansion card.
Seriously.
But hopefully, maybe there'll be a sale or something to help some of Xbox fans be able to have that on their hard drive along with other Series X games. But anyway, we've been waiting a long time for this, and it just absolutely looks fucking amazing. Can't give any early reviews. We haven't played it, but from what we've seen, it's going to be a fun ride. And yes, we understand it is Bethesda. I'm sure there'll be some bugs for the first couple of days and a few patches.
Yeah, it'll be Bethesda, but you know what? Honestly, look, it's not like, at least in my experience, and I've played Morrowind, I've played Oblivion, I've played Skyrim, I've played Fallout 3, I've played Fallout 4. I didn't play Fallout 6 because I have no interest in playing an online Fallout game.
76, yeah.
Fallout 76, yeah. But anyway, but look, none of the bugs that I've had from Bethesda, some of them are comical, some of them are annoying, but none of them have been truly game breaking that I've experienced. Now that may be different for other people, I'll grant you.
Right.
But I can live with bugs, especially on a game this massive. I mean, you're talking about a game that is on the order of magnitude bigger than Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim was a pretty big game. So I'm willing to overlook it as long as they react quickly to feedback and say, here's this bug. As long as they react quickly and fix them,
well,
I'm fine with it.
You know what you're going to get in the first week. And it's not like anybody's going to complete this game in the first week. It's a massive world that you're going to put many hours into it. We probably won't even have our full perspective of the game for at least 3 weeks, when we come out with our magazine edition that month. But at the same time, you're just hoping it's not massive amounts of updates within the first week, that is just as much space as the game itself, like with Cyberpunk 2077. Because as good as that game is, as fun as that game is now, it took a few months with all of their massive updates to fix shit.
Yeah, they can't go that bad. They can't do that. If they do that, that's going to be a problem. And Xbox is, look, Phil Spencer's probably going to shit kittens if that fucking happens. But I don't think it'll be that bad though. This game was they were ready to launch this game 2 years ago because they thought they were going to be pressured to do so. And Xbox, though, it's leaked out that Xbox, there's if you want to know anything Bethesda, BioWare, or Xbox related, watch Mr. Matty Plays, also on YouTube. Great guy, knows his stuff, knows his Xbox stuff, doesn't bullshit you. And he was saying that this game was like they were ready to can this game and ship it out the door 2 years ago, and Xbox came in and said, no, 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 slow down, polish the shit out of it. We want it to be the game of the generation. And so it was Xbox that said, no, take your time.
Well,
And
that was also very similar to what they did with Halo 2. They waited a whole nother year before they finally released that to fix everything. And it made all the difference in the world. So, um, it, good move, smart move. It's exactly what needed to do. Here's my thing about Xbox. If you know anything about their history over the last 20 years, two of the smartest things that they have done up to this point, waiting a whole nother full year to finally release Halo 2 after the success of the first one in the first Xbox. And two, when the Red Ring of Death started happening, they estimated what the cost was going to be to do free returns, replacements, and it cost them $1.5 billion. And they didn't bat an eye. They said, we have to do this. The money was okay. And they kept that going for how many years?
I'll tell you, it's funny with the Red Ring of Death. I got nailed with the Red Ring of Death like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
I was like the first year it came out, I was supposed to bring my Xbox to my brother-in-law's house. And at the time, my nephews were very, very young. My brother-in-law rarely got to game. The only time he got to game is when I visited and everybody else went to bed. And then he and I would crack open a couple beers and play Medal of Honor or Madden or whatever. And so I'm like, shit, I've got to get this thing. So I called up this GameStop, who a high school classmate of mine was the manager. And I was like, hey, bro, I was like, I'm in a pickle here. And he goes, I got one Xbox left. I told it, some other guy called about it. He goes, but if you can get here before he does, it's yours. And I said, man, I'm there 5 minutes ago. Click. And I hauled ass and I got it. And I probably was walking out with it, smiling my ass off if that guy was walking in, but I didn't care. I went to Connecticut. My brother-in-law and I had a great Christmas Eve, probably stayed up till 3 a.m. playing Medal of Honor. It was a great night.
Yeah. But I mean, from a business sense, for Microsoft to take on all the cost of that, and it didn't matter how many times you dealt with that issue. And there was many gamers that went through it 3 or 4 times. You could ship it in for free, and they would overnight you another one. And so when it comes to those kinds of decisions, and to say that about Starfield, that we're gonna, it'll take another couple of years, we're not gonna rush it. Yeah, it makes me more excited for the game.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. There's a lot of things coming out this fall. Baldur's Gate 3 comes out a week before start. Yeah. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to play both of these games, but I've got to play both of these games. Of course, Diablo 4 had a really good launch.
That is when Brendan is taking a vacation.
It is actually.
Shit. Chad, how about you? You gonna be taking a vacation that week? I might be.
I don't know. I mean, my next vacation is probably going to be in October for my birthday, and I really have no idea what's going to be coming out around my birthday. The first week of October.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's coming out the first week. I got to look again. Here's an interesting little bit about gaming before we get to indie. So the next Assassin's Creed game, and I was talking about this with our gaming editor, Omri, yesterday when we were gaming online. If you are Assassin's Creed out at this point, which many gamers are,
also known as assed out,
right, this might make you consider playing the next game. First of all, it's going back to a smaller campaign, so it's not like a huge open world where you're putting 100 hours into it. It's more of a classic feel, and it is the first Assassin's Creed game that will be available day one on the Ubisoft Plus Pass, which means there will be a whole lot of 1 month subscriptions and then cancellations.
Yes, this is true.
And I will freely admit, unless we get a free copy, that's exactly what we're doing, because while it looks good, this is still Ubisoft. It's another Assassin's Creed game, like 2 years after the last one. And after 3 huge open world games, I'm like, God damn it, I don't want to play more Assassin's Creed games.
Hey, Ubisoft, how's that Skull and Bones game you've been working on? That game you've been working on for 10 years?
So
You gonna finish it anytime soon? No, you need a break.
I swear to God, we've got to do like a pool. Like, pick a date when you think it's actually going to release. You know what? I don't even think they're going to announce it. Just one day,
It's just gonna show up. But
right?
like this game was originally a Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag DLC.
Mhm.
Then sometime between like 2014 and 2016, they decided we're gonna make it its own game, and it has been delayed every year since 2018. This game has been in development for a decade, and the last time they showed us anything, it looked like trash.
Well,
Uh,
here they announced that they're doing a remake of Black Flag.
Right, and they've kind of come full circle. So
Yeah.
we've gone from a
Yeah.
DLC that became its own game that never got released to fuck it, we're just going to re-release Black Flag.
Right, but I'm like, what do you think is actually going to come out first? The remake of Black Flag?
Remake of Black Flag, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was also announced this week that they Rockstar is actually doing a remake of the first Red Dead Redemption for the next gen console, which great. And I think they should, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be out before Skull and Bones will ever hit the show.
And probably out before Grand Theft Auto 6 too.
Yes.
Probably. So,
Hopefully not as broken as the definitive trilogy, though.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to our main topic, just out of curiosity, since the summertime is always a great time to go back and play video games, catch up on stuff you haven't played, or do a replay. And you can tweet us out at That Nerd Show. We want to know from you what you have gone back to play or finally finished that you never ended up finishing. Excuse me. Chad, are you going back and playing anything this summer or catching up on any games?
Pretty. Time I'm playing a game, it's usually Fortnite.
Okay.
That's pretty much what I stay locked into. Never thought I would live to see the day where I would say those words, but yeah, that's pretty much what I play.
Hey, the other night when our buddy Daniel was over at my house, we actually had a lot of fun in that Unreal.
Yes, we did.
So I'll have to do that again. And Brendan, are you going back and playing anything this summer?
Well, I'm going back. I'm going to go back and play a game I haven't ever gotten a chance to play again. So one, I love top-down isometric RPGs, and one game that I never got to play that I really wanted to was Divinity Original Sin 2. And that right now is 60% off on the Steam store. It's $17.99. So I'm going, I'll take that. And I'm going to snag that. I'm going to get that. And I'm getting, there's a World War II strategy game called War in the Pacific that I've really enjoyed watching a couple YouTube streamers play. Pete's HQ is a good young channel starting up. Taff in Exile and Wolfpack 345, all really good guys who play it. They make it really interesting. I'm not usually that type of gamer because I don't have the patience for micromanaging things. Marcus will tell you I'm an Irishman. Patience isn't in the Irish dictionary. It says "see pissed off." But I just love it. I love the ship models. I love the air combat. The site you can do sub combat, air combat, ship to ship combat. It looks really, really good. I can't wait to try it. And that one's on sale for 50%. So I'm gonna get both of those games for under $40. So
well, they also announced too. You can get the back catalog of Star Wars games, 21 Star Wars games for like $20 through Steam, including Battlefront, the latest Battlefront 2.
Yeah, I have most of those already because a couple of years ago, Humble Bundle did one that was like 20 Star Wars games for like $16, and I was like, yep.
Yeah. So, for me, since this year was big about The Last of Us, I went back and actually finished The Last of Us Part 2. I still agree with our decision that year that it was not Game of the Year and that Ghost of Tsushima was absolutely the right choice. And of course,
I think it would make a better TV show too.
Yeah, well,
I know everybody loves it. I know.
Hey, that's great. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with a Ghost of Tsushima movie, and but
considering who's at the helm, I think it's in good hands.
Who is at the helm? I was unaware.
Stahelski.
Yeah.
Wrap your head around that for a minute.
But I think the bigger question is,
I'm intrigued.
Is
I
it going
figured
to
as
be
much.
a good movie, or should they do a series? Because that's what The Last of Us proved as a template, that it was better as a series, overall. But anyway, if you have not finished Hogwarts Legacy, because there's so many things that you can do in exploration, the summertime, like summer school, and it's a fun summer school, is a good time to go back and do that. And also, if you finally got around to playing Cyberpunk 2077 after the 10th or 20th update that they had to do, which I've been into, and I am literally almost done with it because I'm curious about the DLC. That's kind of a good one. So that's what I'm working on. And one thing I want to mention from a multiplayer standpoint, we at That Nerd Show, we still have fun jumping into the multiplayer of Battlefront 2.
God, was there a dumber decision in gaming history than to friggin' stop support? EA finally got to that game to where everybody loved it. Everybody thought it was
I know.
great. And by the way, talk about one of the worst launches in gaming history.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
And they finally got it to where they had like 30 million active players, and without any plan of what else they had coming forward other than Jedi Fallen Order, they were just like, fuck it, we're gonna shut it down.
Yeah, except they added some of the newer characters from the sequel trilogy. That was it. Some of the outfits and whatnot. But I think the last great mode they dropped was Ewok Hunt, and after that, I'm like, there's so. I mean, can you imagine adding, a mode with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all of that? Because the
Ride a Rancor.
Yeah, I mean, the multiplayer mode in that game is what makes it worth playing nowadays. The campaign is fun, and I've gone back a couple of times to play it, but it's just a lot of fun to jump in with your friends in that if you're a Star Wars fan. So
yeah, the multiplayer servers are still working, right? They just haven't done any updates since 2020.
Yeah. No,
yeah, I mean, they just stopped support of the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, once they did that, their player base went.
Yeah, I mean, you can still find plenty of players and still get ranked up and everything. I'm just saying, it's still a lot of fun. And, it's one of the free games on Xbox Game Pass because it's part of EA Play. Mm-hmm. All right, moving right along. So it's also kind of this week's Side of the Apocalypse, because we've been asking this question regarding Indiana Jones 5. Should this movie have really been made? Did we really need it? And here's my answer to that. And I'll be curious to see what you say. Yes, because it's like a Windows operating system. You have to make another one to fix the previous operating system. I think this movie was only made to fix Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, even if it wasn't very good. So I will ask that question to my cohorts here. Chad, do you think this movie was needed?
I really can't argue with your point. Yeah, I mean, the last one left such a horrible taste in our mouth that we kind of needed this as a make good or something. I don't
right to kind of
something had to balm that wound from 2008. That's been
right. We had to have something. If we couldn't leave the Indiana Jones story on with such a bad taste or on
right.
Yeah, Brendan, what do you think? I know you hated it more than we did. So was this?
I see this movie. I see if your whole point is you're going to fix Crystal Skull, if that's the reason why this new movie needs to be made. Then they failed, because I actually think it undid some of the only good things that Crystal Skull did. And so, like, I don't want to see an old Indy depressed, divorced, and mourning his son. I'm just fucking tired of seeing all of our heroes deconstructed. Like, this is this pseudo intellectual fucking garbage. I don't care. If I want to see grounded, gritty characters and depressing characters, I'll go watch Scorsese or Michael Mann. I don't want to be depressed watching Indiana Jones. I don't want to see old Indy in his fucking boxers and a t-shirt that he can't get down over his flabby fucking abs, going to bang on somebody's door with a baseball bat like he's this grumpy old man. I don't fucking want to watch that. Indiana Jones is an aspirational character. He's supposed to make you want to be better than you are, not worse than I currently am. Fuck that movie.
Well, some of us didn't think it was that bad, but okay. as a storyteller, that's the shit that doesn't really bother me, because I think I don't think you can always be the hero. I think you have to be human and fall on your face at times and be inspired to go off and do good things again. So from that standpoint, I don't necessarily mind it.
See, and this is where there are certain characters that you just can't do that to. I don't want to go and immediately be depressed. Like I couldn't stand Obi-Wan for this same reason. I just don't want to see these characters freaking looking worse than I do. Like you can challenge them without making them depressing sad sacks.
You need John Wayne to be John Wayne in every movie.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying you can fucking challenge them. Just don't turn them into a piece of shit. Like,
yeah, it's the argument is so strong for this because
fucking tired of it.
It happened with Luke in The Last Jedi. It happened with Han in The Force Awakens. It happened with Obi-Wan in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hell, it happened with Willow in the new Willow.
It happened with I'm like, you have basically taken every
idea of good storytelling, and it's fucking garbage. And you know what? The audience, I don't care. Look, I'm reading some stuff online where people and I watched a different fucking movie because they're like, this movie can do no wrong. It's amazing. Okay, then why isn't everyone going to see it? Why did it lose on the 4th of July to an independent movie with Jim Caviezel that fucking Disney refused to release? It got beat. The Sound of Freedom was in 2,000 less theaters and beat it by $2.5 million.
I didn't know that.
That was released today. The Sound of Freedom did $14.2 million on July 4th in 2,600 theaters. Indy was in 4,600 theaters and couldn't get to $12 million
on the 4th of July.
On the 4th of July.
Jesus. So one day.
Yeah, well, that's the only day Sound of Freedom's been out. We don't have that. It released on 4th of July.
So,
but an independent film in 2,600 theaters, 2,000 less theaters, should not be beating out Indiana Jones on day 5.
You're making that argument that it made more money the day that it got released when Indy had already been out for how many days?
Indy is a $350 million blockbuster in 4,600 screens. The fact that the audience chose to go see an independent film that was on half as many screens is a condemnation of the product.
Or these people had already seen Indiana Jones and were going to see something new.
The vast majority of the people that went to see Sound of Freedom, I guarantee you, have not gone to Indiana Jones in the previous 4 days. Not everybody in America is like.
I'm not arguing about your indictment that that's how bad Indy is. But I think you have to put it into perspective to see the total numbers. Now, I think Sound of Freedom will probably end up doing better because of the subject matter, and Jim Caviezel, whether you agree with his views or not, always gives a gritty and a great performance. And the subject matter of what this is, especially being based on a true story, yes, I agree. He is more of a hero than what we are seeing in it with Indiana Jones in this movie. Not disagreeing with that. But tell me what the numbers for Sound of Freedom are after 4 or 5 days in the theater compared to Indiana Jones. I think you have to put that into perspective.
I am, but I'm also saying you can't take out of perspective the fact that it was in 2,000 less theaters. 2,000.
I'm not discounting that. That's terrible. But again,
I guarantee you heads are rolling in
Here's
Burbank
the question
right
that you're not putting out, or that you're not asking. How many people would have gone back to watch Indiana Jones a second time? And put that into perspective with the first 3 movies. They were so good that people saw it multiple times in the theater. Didn't you see Last Crusade multiple times?
No, I didn't, because I was 11 years old and my parents took me once.
Yeah, I think I saw it like 3 times, a couple of times with friends, and then one with my Chad. Did you see any, since you're older and stuff? Did you see any of these Indiana, the first 3 movies multiple times in the theater?
Yes, I even saw Crystal Skull twice.
See, I didn't even see Crystal Skull twice.
I'm sorry.
I saw it the one time you went, the group of us went, but The look, I guarantee you this is gonna have it. Like it only made 50. It only made what 59 million its first weekend plus 82 with Monday and Tuesday. I guarantee you it's not going to have a ton of repeat audiences. I guarantee you it's going to have.
No, I'm not. I'm not disagreeing with that. I think this. I think this is kind of a one and done for people. I know some hardcore enthusiasts that have seen it multiple times. I won't go back to the theater to watch it. If I watch it again, it'll be on Disney Plus. But yeah.
Well, like hell, and Disney's even doing this shit with Nick Fury now too. Like the entire first episode, I felt like when Ford was climbing up that cliff face in the third act, he's listing off all his injuries, and I'm like, Jesus, they just did this with Nick Fury too. They spent the entire opening episode of Secret Invasion.
All right, getting past the argument of Kathleen Kennedy ruining storytelling, I'm curious. Is there anything that you liked about the movie, Brendan?
The first 20 minutes, because it actually felt like an Indiana Jones movie.
Okay, so you liked the first 20 minutes with
and I will give the movie, and I will say this, for the content he was given, Ford acted his ass off.
I don't disagree with that. I thought he was great. Chad, did you think he was great in the movie?
Yeah, given what he was given to work with, he did an admirable job. Yes.
I mean, and some of the side characters were okay. Although, it just like I wish we had gotten more of Antonio Banderas. His character was actually, it seemed interesting.
That was one of my complaints too.
That was like a glorified cameo. He was there for 5 minutes and he gets shot twice.
He was criminally underutilized.
Right. Yeah. It actually took me a moment to even realize that it was Antonio Banderas.
Same here.
Also, I would like to put out like everybody being so afraid to use certain language today, even in movies. Was it just me, or were those the politest Nazis you've ever seen?
Movies are bad when Nazis have become woke.
I mean, I'm like,
look,
it was just so weird to see a black female CIA, FBI. I'm not sure if they told us what type of agent she was.
She was CIA. They did.
CIA.
Okay, I missed that. But it was just so weird to see them like working not only with her but being begrudgingly polite. I'm like, do we really think that that's how that would have gone down in 1969?
Have they never seen a black, Pam Grier in those early 70s films? That's how.
And let's be honest, if it was Pam Grier and they did treat her like the way she did it, the movie would have been over in 5 minutes because she would have shot their ass.
Yeah,
because Pam Grier would have not suffered that bullshit.
Here's what I'm going to say about the movie. It's better than Crystal Skull. That's probably not saying much. I don't think it's as bad as some of these early reviews, in my opinion. There's a lot that I did kind of like about it, and there's an awful lot that I did complain about. And it's hard to see Indiana Jones at this stage in his life. I agree that you don't want to see your hero, be grumpy and, not be who he once was.
Get knocked out and get dragged through time.
Actually, the time thing didn't, to me, that's.
No, not time travel itself, not the plot line itself. The part where he gets knocked out and gets dragged through time against his will because he just wanted to die in the past.
Okay, well, again, that didn't bother me at all. I thought that was kind of a nice redemption moment for Helena. And we'll get to her in a moment because this is something that we were talking about. And it's funny that fans are kind of split. There are fans that really like her and fans who absolutely hate her. And I don't think there's any middle ground on that. So
he is the Jar Jar Binks of Dial of Destiny.
Wow.
I'm gonna quote you on that. I'm going to quote you on that.
In the
taking that.
Okay. In the nerd universe, that's worse than dropping the C word.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But with that said, we also want to talk about, we've often talked about casting, and we want to go through kind of our list of actresses, British actresses that would have been better in this role. But getting back to my point about Indy, it's hard to see, like, as much as I love Harrison Ford, it's hard to take him that serious at this point, at 80 years old. But I was thinking about that. While you're trying to be who you once were, I had more fun watching an 80 years old Harrison Ford be the tough guy in the Paramount show 1923. Like, literally, when he in that scene is pulling the gun, on Jerome Flynn's character, I'm like, dude, let's have a shootout in the middle of Montana Main Street. And but let's admit it, he's more of a badass in 1923 than he is as Indiana Jones in this movie, right?
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. He's so much better written in 1923.
Right.
And honestly, and we'll get into it when we get into the recasting talks, but that's kind of how I wanted to see Indy in this, as the patriarch, as the episode 4 Obi-Wan Kenobi to a new generation, not being led around by the nose by the new generation, which also kind of happened in the sequel trilogy. Yeah. I feel like Jakar from Babylon 5.
Well, anyway, we're not going to rehash the sequel trilogy. I mean, I get your point.
No, we're not.
But Chad, I mean, for you, do you agree that he is better in 1923, and I bet that's a better written character for Harrison Ford?
Am I going to get dragged when I tell you guys I haven't gotten around to watching 1923?
Okay, well,
let's put it this way: when you fall into a show hole, you've got something really good to watch.
Well, yeah. Now you have your nerd homework this weekend.
I guess so. I just put it on my media server, so I've got no.
You'll have to take a break from Fortnite for a little bit. It's only 8 episodes.
Dude, Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren being badass.
God, he was more.
Two of my favorite people. Two of my favorite.
Lord, that scene about her. I kill more slowly. Jesus.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the young man who played Spencer, I always forget his name, and I apologize to him.
Brandon Sklaryn.
Yeah, he's gonna be a freaking star.
Yeah,
somebody cast him in something cool.
So after here, talk about casting. I get why they did the storyline of Mutt dying as a soldier and why it was tearing him and Marion apart and all that. Okay, fine, you did that. I disagree with
no big loss.
Right. However, I do disagree with that, because if you wanted the great juxtaposition of a father and son teaming up together type story that really mirrored The Last Crusade, you could have absolutely recast him. Okay. And have an older, kind of actor come in and be Mutt and not as annoying. After watching 1923, Brendan, this question is to you. Do you not see Brandon Sklaryn kind of being a young Indiana Jones?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if he had been playing Mutt, fantastic. Or even if you want to kill off Mutt, like, okay, you just want to kill off Mutt. If only there was another character that was like a child to Indy, who is currently on a big career rebound, that would have been an amazing casting choice for this movie. And
right.
Oh, there is.
Right.
They just went with shorter, rounder.
Sometimes we do make up words on this podcast.
Seriously.
Well, yeah, and this is something we were talking about yesterday in our private chat. That you have. Okay, fine. He goes off on an adventure with his goddaughter, but why isn't it the daughter of Marcus
Brody? Where to tie it in and to make it more emotionally poignant, because everybody remembers Marcus Brody, and it would have been a fitting tribute to the actor who was one of the first big actors to die of AIDS in the 80s. Like, seriously, come on. Just also pull your head out of your ass, Disney.
Also, why couldn't you write a storyline too that her contact is short round, and that's how you get? I know. I am not disagreeing with how they fucked up the storyline and what you could have done to.
And I think I have the perfect actors to be Marcus Brody's daughter. You ready? Saoirse Ronan.
Ooh, yeah, she was not on my list. Damn.
But think about it as Marcus's daughter because she's got the sandy brownish
Yeah.
blonde hair and the same hair as Marcus. And she has played in some phenomenal stuff. She is Oscar nominated. She's worked on Broadway. She's got the acting chops. She could sit there and hold her own with Ke Huy Quan and with Harrison and Marion. If you bring Marion in earlier instead of waiting till the last minute and doing reshoots that James Mangold came out and said didn't happen, but John Williams and Harrison Ford both said did. God, the marketing for this film was a mess. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, you have those two working together, and they have a problem they can't solve, and they need Indy's expertise, not his physical prowess, but his expertise as an archaeologist to solve it. And they're doing the physical heavy lifting because he is older, but it's his intellect that saves the day. That's how you write an aging hero, Kathleen.
Also, Helen Brody is a lot easier to say. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not the one on this show that hates Phoebe Waller-Bridges, but I also admit that there are better actresses they could have gotten for this role.
I don't hate her personally.
No.
I mean, how her character was written in this movie.
Bingo.
Yeah. Even though we complain about Channing Tatum being miscast, we don't hate Channing Tatum. I've heard he's extremely nice, and I
actually think he's matured as an actor considerably since I first called him the potatum.
You just shouldn't have been in a G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to admit something, and y'all can totally make fun of me. So I did actually watch the last Magic Mike movie in the background while I was working one day. Not necessarily for him, for Selma Hayek. I'm pointing that out now.
I'm never I'll give you a little shit, but I'm never gonna give any guy shit for ever saying I watched a movie for Selma Hayek.
Right, and I will admit that I liked him in that movie. Even though I'm not the target audience, but I was like, you know what? I get why these movies are good and I get where he's going. And, as a mature, older, actor and what they were trying to do is like, I get it. And it's a great little swan song to that storyline. And also Selma Hayek. And I don't think that nothing needs explanation. But the actress that I thought would have really been a great casting choice, and Saoirse Ronan, I totally agree with you on that, was the actress from Outlander, Katarina Balfe.
Yeah, she would have been fine too.
Yeah, that would have been a great reunion with Mangold because she played Christian Bale's wife's, in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, which is a phenomenal movie. If you haven't,
Mangold's a great director. I'm not taking anything away from Mangold, even if he did mangle his Twitter account. Sorry, couldn't resist. Anyway, thank you, Chad. Appreciate you. He is a great. I mean, Ford versus Ferrari, 310 to Yuma. The man makes great movies. I'm not going to take that away from him.
No,
I don't, like many people before him working at Lucasfilm, I don't think he had much control over the story or what. I mean, this movie, you can kind of tell just by the tonal shift of different parts of the movie. And we talked about its storylines that go nowhere. Like they never resolve the fact that when Indy gets back from the past, he's still wanted for murder. But
I know.
I mean, it's just like they just left that dangling there, like the old dangling participle.
But they changed time, and it just magically went away.
Yeah, but that's another thing that kind of pissed me off. I couldn't leave you in the past because it would change future. You mean the dead Nazis and the ships that you blew up with a freaking machine gun and the crashed Nazi bomber? None of that's going to change the future? Get the fuck out of here.
How do you think Archimedes got that fucking watch?
Yeah. I'm like, how can, like, if you're going to like go that route with time travel rules, and I applaud you for trying, you have to go all in. You can't just subjectively apply that.
I took my cousin Andrew to go see the film, and then I also invited my friend Rose Catherine. And when they did that, they were like, "But you'll fuck up history." Like Silo and my cousin are like, "But you just did."
Yeah.
It's like you literally just did. Like, what? Okay, fine. So you're telling me that the only butterfly effect throughout all of history because of that is Indy's no longer wanted for murder.
Right. But
all of history.
And here's the storyline that you're really missing out on. At least in Endgame, they had a somewhat plausible explanation that they had to go to a specific point in time as to not fuck it up. And the only time that somebody did it deliberately is when Cap went back to return the stone and decided, I'm finally going to stay with the love of my life. Which I still kind of hate, but, understand.
Yeah, we like from a narrative perspective, like from a not even a narrative, but from a strict rules of storytelling perspective, I hate it. From a narrative perspective, okay, we're giving Cap a happy ending because he had 70 years where he was stuck underneath the ice and then he did nothing but help.
Right, and I would absolutely go back in time for Haley
Atwell.
Literally to get a happy ending. So
hopefully many.
Oh my God. Yeah, she's like one of the reasons I can't wait to actually see the new Mission Impossible movie. I don't care about the rest. It's just because each movie is how more Mission Impossible can we make it this time?
Well, as Anthony Hopkins said in perhaps the worst Mission Impossible movie, Mission Impossible 2, Mr. Hunt, this isn't mission difficult. It's Mission Impossible. So anyway, best line in a bad movie.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and really it's not that bad. It's just bad for Tom Cruise's standards. Here's why I'm looking forward to Mission Impossible. It's Tom Cruise. Because the man, all he cares about is putting on a movie that is going to entertain the fans.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all he cares
about. He owned 2022. He could very well own 2023.
He's got. I called it on your guys' Facebook feed on the Electric Jellyfish podcast Facebook feed. That movie is going to make between 1.2 and 1.3 billion dollars. It's not going to quite catch what Top Gun Maverick did because Top Gun Maverick had so much nostalgia behind it, but it's going to get close. And the reason why is because it's going to do better than any previous Mission Impossible movie stateside, because everybody's just dying for a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, that movie does gangbusters overseas. That franchise, if you look at all the all the historical numbers for all the Mission Impossible movies, it does 2.5 times overseas what it does domestically. So if it makes 400 million in the United States, it's going to make 800 and 900 million overseas.
Well, no, that does actually make a lot of sense. Tom Cruise, and I love people complaining, well, he's a dickhead and he treats his wives badly and he's into Scientology. I don't give a shit what he does personally until
I'm sure he's an asshole. I don't care.
Yeah. Right. Clint Eastwood's an asshole, but he still makes entertaining movies. John Wayne was an asshole at times. He made a lot of great movies.
If the man breaks the law, throw the book at him, like they should have done to Ezra Miller.
And we're going to get to that in a little bit, but the point of going to see this movie is for you to be entertained, to have a kind of a feel-good movie, to be a little bit inspired, and even if it's
Russell Crowe here.
Yeah. How many of us really care that the ending of Top Gun Maverick is really just the Death Star run? We don't. It works. And as much as I kind of hated the Lady Gaga song Hold My Hand in the very beginning because it wasn't You Lost That Loving Feeling, the orchestration of that song and how they played it when they landed on the aircraft carrier, I kind of got it made me love that music a lot more.
Hey, we got Danger Zone. I'm good.
Yeah, they did everything right with that movie. And
I can see why they chose not to use You've Lost That Love, because that was his song with Charlie, right?
Sure. No, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see why they wanted to shift away. That makes sense, because people are going to be like, oh, because if people are going to hear that and they're immediately going to go, oh, Charlie's in this, and no, Charlie's not.
Yeah,
no.
But with that said about Tom Cruise, they have already announced they are in development to make a sequel to Days of Thunder, and I'm like, great, because Days of Thunder was a fun movie. However,
it's Top Gun on wheels.
Yeah, that's all it is. But also, what makes that movie work is Robert Duvall.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
100%.
if you're not going to get Robert Duvall back for that movie, you at least have to get John Riley to be back in that movie.
And Michael Rooker needs a cameo.
You're right. You at least need you actually, what you should do is you should have, at this point in time, like Michael Rooker, running a pit crew or really training since he can't really drive, and just that great little friendship.
Honestly, I would like to see it where he saved up enough money to the point where he owns a team now.
Yeah,
I would like to see Rowdy as a team owner. That would be really
cool.
Cool.
He's more what the Quaid role was in the original.
Actually, you know what? No, you know what? This is what's going to happen. You're right. He is going to be a pit boss, because him being an owner really isn't that. It'll be Carrie Elway's character, Russ Wheeler, because he was always the prim and proper guy who probably had a 401k and was trading on the side. Yeah, he'll be the team owner of the rival team to Cole Trickle. That's what'll happen.
No, probably. Well, either way,
so we definitely have to have John C. Reilly back.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing we won't have no Cole Kidman. I'm just going out on a limb here.
Probably not. There will be a new love interest. But all right. So rounding out about Indiana Jones 5. I personally gave it a 7. I thought it was okay. I do not admit that it's a great movie or worth seeing in the theater again. There was enough of it that I liked that I thought, you know what? It's an okay movie for what it is. Chad, what grade did you give it?
I give it a 7, just barely. Just barely
a 7.
Yeah.
Okay. And Brendan, you are more cynical and critical of this movie. The reason I'm asking, Chad and I kind of had a side bet on how low your grade was going to be.
I'm going to give it this for the first 20 minutes, for Harrison's performance, and for what should have been a lot more film time for Antonio Banderas. I am going to give it 1 better than I gave The Flash. I'll give it a 5.
Okay. See, I could have sworn you were going to give it a 4. So I was totally wrong.
No, I didn't hate it as much as I hated The Flash. Like Ezra Miller, I can't stand Ezra Miller. I think he's a terrible actor. And having to endure 60 minutes of watching him twice on screen at the same time was painful. I almost didn't make it to Keaton, but that's the only thing that kept me in my seat.
All right. So speaking of the Flash movie, it has been out a couple of weeks, and as you can tell, we all have different grades. I really enjoyed the Flash movie. I don't hate Ezra Miller as an actor as much as you do. It was a lot of fun, and the nostalgia of having Michael Keaton back as Batman made me love this movie and wanted to see it again. And I love the jokes about them changing time to in the other timeline. Eric Stoltz did finish out Back to the Future and stuff like that. I even had a nice laugh with the George Clooney cameo. With that said, I don't think that should have been the ending. I'm going to throw out a couple of stats here in a moment. Because them changing the ending from the original, James Gunn really screwed the pooch on that one. Chad, what did you think of The Flash?
I liked it for Michael Keaton's presence, and that's probably that's the main reason I went in the first place. I'm not the biggest fan of Ezra Miller either, because and it's got nothing to do with his legal troubles or anything like that. I just think he's a tryhard, and I just I just don't dig it. And maybe I'm just too big of a fan of Gustin's portrayal of the Flash. I really think that's who they should have given the role to in the first place.
I cannot fault you on that, even though I think that show ran, way too long.
Oh yeah. I no, that's not up for debate.
Embodied that role and was great, and I think he was everything that you want from Barry Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I actually like Candace Patton better as
Iris.
Yeah. They really did a whole lot with the girl. They didn't really give her a lot of presence in that film.
But there was no chemistry there for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
and I think that Gustin and Patton just have a natural chemistry that jumps off the screen every time you watch them together.
And I also I wish they had done more with Sasha Calle, who played Supergirl. They didn't give her enough, and I would have very much enjoyed seeing her do more. And I'm like, I could see her as Supergirl, but you got to give her more. No, the best part about that movie is obviously Michael Keaton. He saves that movie from a total disaster, in my opinion. Now, Brendan, you are the more cynical as usual on this.
I love Keaton, but I even think Keaton knew this movie was a stinker, because to me, there are a couple scenes where he looked freaking bored. Especially the scene where he does the "Let's get nuts." He delivered it. There's a nonchalance that's the nonchalance of I'm cool and I know it, and then there's the nonchalance of I wish I was somewhere else.
Yeah, I can't believe I have to say this shit in this.
Yeah,
in this context.
Honestly, it would not surprise me if Miller was as wacky on the set as he is in real life, and therefore Keaton was just like, I have to put up with this freaking little nitwit. I felt bad for Keaton and Sasha Calle both. I think they were completely misused and underutilized. You're 100% right. Grant Gustin should have been given the role. You know what should have happened? As soon as Barry went into this, when it became freaking obvious they were going to reshoot a whole bunch of this and that he had gone off the deep end, they should have just had him go off into the Speed Force, everything get changed, and when he came out, he was Grant Gustin.
If they could change Ben Affleck to George Clooney, they could have goddamn done it.
100%. And look, I get Grant Gustin's not a big movie star, but you know what? Everybody in the DC world, everybody in the DC fandom knows him as the Flash. And yes, the later seasons of the Flash fell off, and it became very CW-ish high school drama crap. But the early seasons of the Flash, seasons 1 through 4, were excellent.
Outstanding stuff.
Yeah. And of course they had their stinker episodes, but I mean, it's a 23 episode season. Of course they're going to have their stinkers, right? Even Babylon 5 has a few episodes I skip every once in a while. But he was really good he's a very, very good Barry Allen. Okay. Especially if you want to go with the thinner, quippier, not the jacked Barry Allen. If you're going with that, Grant Gustin is a better actor. He's a better Barry Allen. And you don't have to deal with the garbage of the fact that, hey, he's so freaking insane, we can't even do any promo spots with him.
And he doesn't look like the one most likely to start a cult.
Well, you had mentioned that Grant Gustin's no movie star. Neither is Ezra Miller.
Fair enough. Fair. 100%.
I mean, up to this point, he had done more indie film. The only reason he even got cast as Barry Allen was, I think Snyder admitted that he enjoyed his performance in that movie, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is a great movie.
But I mean, he didn't even have to. See, and I like Snyder as a filmmaker. I do. I've enjoyed a lot of his films. But this is a case of when you give a filmmaker too much power, right? We've always talked about how George Lucas is much better when he's got somebody who can tell him no and rein him in. Okay, whether that's Spielberg, whether that's Lawrence Kasdan, whoever it is, somebody who can be like, "Hey, George, we need to pull it back." When you put him surrounded by yes men like Rick McCallum, we get Jar Jar. Okay, which maybe if it had been written slightly differently, it would have worked. But here it is. The prequels are still not terrible. They're still pretty good films. There's a lot about them I like. But yeah, George, if he had just had somebody who could have stood up to him a little bit, maybe massaged a few things, changed a few things here, the prequels could have been as beloved as well. And I shouldn't say that because
Not
for many
having
people
an
they are as
entire
beloved.
movie based on a kid.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Like we've talked about it. Like I would have had what he did for episode 2 been episode 1. But anyway, I digress. Point being is Snyder should have never been allowed to cast him on the basis of one performance in one movie without at least screen testing other people.
Yeah.
First of all, I like even in Hollywood, isn't that an equal opportunity violation?
I don't think he's a terrible actor, but I don't disagree that there could have been much better choices to play Barry Allen.
It's like he's as miscast as Barry Allen as Jesse Eisenberg was as Lex Luthor.
Yep.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You know what pisses
I can't
me
argue
off
with him on that.
is all the casting choices pointed to Bryan Cranston getting to be Lex Luthor, and I'm like, why didn't we get that? He would have been amazing.
Well, you know what? Even if he had been offered, I think he would turn it down because he actually came out and smacked down the fans and was like, anybody who just wants me to be Lex Luthor is just because I'm bald and that's stupid and I'm not a good fit for that role. No, dude, maybe it's because you had just starred in a crime drama where you were basically a criminal mastermind for the last 6 years, and it's not only do you look the part, but you have the gravitas, the acting skill, and you just came off playing a similar character.
And you played a hell of a LBJ on Broadway, and then they made it into an HBO movie, which is, to my mind, probably the best portrayal of LBJ.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, seriously. Like, I get maybe you're trying to like defend the studio, the people that pay your bills, but at the same time, man, like if you can't see why people thought you would have made an amazing Lex Luthor, and hell, the best Lex Luthor they probably ever did cast was in Titans, and that aside from Gene Hackman, I apologize, was freaking Titus Welliver in Titans, and then they killed him in the first freaking episode.
I still haven't watched season 4. I think Brendan's negativity kind of turned me off on even going to it. And I'm like, I don't really care. All right.
Like, I tweeted out that I was so pissed that they killed him off of the first. I was like, I said, at DC Titans, how are you going to kill off my man at Titus Welliver like that? And freaking Titus Welliver liked it and retweeted it.
Yeah. After that, we were just like, when is Bosch season 2 of Legacy coming out? Can we get
2 months, I think, September? Yeah.
It's like, come on, quickly. We need something good with him.
I need Bosch. I need Bosch Legacy season 2, and I need Reacher season 2.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. So here's some interesting facts about the Flash. There was a 99% positive rating with the test audiences regarding the original ending of the Flash. That dropped to 80% when James Gunn made all the changes.
So, what did the first ending still have Henry Cavill by any chance?
Yes, they brought them all together. They also had. They were also going to bring Supergirl into that universe for them, and there was a great scene, with them together. So it kind of merged the timelines, and you didn't get George Clooney as, Bruce Wayne. But it was kind of a final great send-off that also left room if Snyder had ever returned to complete like Justice League Part 2. But you were merging, what's the word I'm looking for? You took the Speed Force storyline with the different timelines and kind of merged it and brought it together for what we knew as the Justice League. And so whatever you think for all the fans that love James Gunn, and I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but you're the one who fucked this movie up with the ending because you wanted to completely kill off the Snyderverse, which in the end, I still think is going to be better than what you're going to do.
And here's the biggest just ridiculousness of them getting rid of Henry Cavill weeks after they allowed him to say that he was back. You know that meme where it's like, "Hey, mom, can we go get this?" And it's like, "No, we have this at home." Can we go get Henry Cavill? No, we have Henry Cavill at home, and that's the guy that they cast. He looks like first of all right, first Henry Cavill leaves The Witcher and he gets replaced by dollar store Thor. Okay, and now he gets kicked out of the DCU and he gets replaced by a great value version of himself.
Yeah. This is the first time I am literally not excited for a Superman movie. Like, I just don't fucking care.
I am. If for no other reason, who they've got playing Lois,
and
she's perfect.
That's where I was going. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in our private chat. Rachel Brosnan is the perfect casting choice to play Lois Lane. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't watched any episode of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. And I do encourage people to go watch her big breakout role, because they ended it perfectly. And she has gone on to do other stuff. She was great in that movie, The Courier, with Benedict Cumberbatch. I know she had a kind of a small little bit part in House of Cards, for anybody that might actually go back and watch that. But no, she looks like a Lois Lane.
She's got that Girl Friday quality about her, just oozing
out
of her. Right?
Man.
I mean, she's going to crush this. She's going to crush this.
Man, great little Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant reference there. Chad's going old school with this.
Yes, I am.
Classic movie references.
So I will say this.
It's all going to boil down to who the villain's going to be. I think that's really what it really is going to boil down to.
Sure.
Who's he going to face?
But if you're going to recast, if you're going to race swap Jimmy Olsen, can we not get a guy who is also and all love to Medka Brooks? I loved him as Jax. I love him on Law and Order. But Jax is not Jimmy Olsen. Okay, a 6'4", 230-pound jacked dude is not Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah,
can we get?
He's not a walking Gap commercial.
If you want it to be, a young black kid, or a young Hispanic kid, or a young Asian kid, I don't care.
Sure,
but just make him a young, scrawny kid that just follows Lois and Clark around and idolizes them.
Yeah, I mean that's about as dumb as trying to recast a Short Round by making a young, kind of nerdy, mechanically savvy Mexican kid. Oh, wait, they did do that.
Who's the kid that was in the Jurassic World movies? The young kid. Dadgummit. I'm drawing a blank on this. The one that was screaming throughout the whole dadgum thing.
Are you talking about the first one, or I haven't seen the first Jurassic World movie in a while. I saw Dominion when it first came out, and
the little blonde girl, you mean?
No. He's a really light-skinned kid. I'm going through the cast as quick as I can. I'm trying to find him.
Yeah, I don't really remember that. I think I've seen that movie like once.
Gosh, I can't find
well, the thing about Jimmy Olsen is the Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah, Justice Smith.
Okay. I don't know it off the top of my head. But what I'm saying is he's the Peter Parker of the Superman world, but without special superpowers. He's supposed to be nerdy and kind of geeky and fawning over Lois Lane. And, you can say we can literally complain all we want about Superman Returns, basically just being a glorified $200 million fan film for the original Christopher Reeve movies. And that's what it was. But they got Jimmy Olsen right in that movie.
No.
You know what? Here's what you know him
from.
He was in. He was in. He was the kid that had Pikachu in Detective Pikachu.
He was also the sorcerer in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Okay. I gotcha. You know what?
Yeah, I think he would be a good Jimmy Olsen, actually.
Absolutely. You're okay. Yeah. I could definitely see that. Wow, that would be a great casting choice.
So,
because he is kind of the nerdy, sidekick, and
exactly. He's it's kind of his stereotypical role.
Right.
Maybe it's typecasting, but it works for him.
Well, and he was great in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I mean, so wow. Okay, so next week on That Nerd Show as casting directors, There, Marion Glory, she's the famous Hollywood casting director. They did a documentary about her on HBO. She was the one that really discovered a lot of great early actors, ran it all out of her house in New York. She pretty much found everybody for Scorsese films. And anyway, and then I think she's the first woman that became the head of a major studio, Warner Brothers, before they got bought out and rearranged in the 70s. There's a great art to casting. Okay. There are people that just have an eye for talent and know exactly, look beyond just the good looks. They know that there's a certain quality about them. And I think there's just been I don't know if those kind of people really exist anymore, especially when we are dealing with, DC movies, Marvel movies, and all that, because there's a lot of people that there's just better casting choices. And I don't, it's like they immediately go to, well, they're hot today, so obviously they would be perfect for any role whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and it's just it also, there's just like a fundamental like disconnect in Hollywood between not only between the people making the films and the people they're making it for, but also between, it just seems like a lot of times between the different departments at a film studio, it's a classic case of the left hand not knowing what the right's doing.
Yeah.
It's just, these things aren't hard. Like, you can make your changes if you want, but you have to stay very true to the spirit of the source material. I mean, Peter Jackson made loads of changes with the Lord of the Rings. He took out Tom Bombadil. He basically merged Arwen and Glorfindel into one character. He added the elves at Helm's Deep. He made all these different changes, but he stayed the basic premise of the story, the basic flow of the story, and the spirit of the story all stayed very true to Tolkien's vision. So it's not that hard to do. Just look at Lord of the Rings as what to do, and Lord of the Rings of Power as what not to do.
Not to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of those movies, look at the 4 actors they got to play the Hobbits. They've never been in movies together. But especially, with Sean Astin and Elijah Wood as, Sam and Frodo, were great.
Yeah, while they were seasoned and very respected actors, it's not like they were big stars. Viggo Mortensen wasn't a big star. John Rhys Davies, hell, Orlando Bloom was just getting his start. Before that, I think the things he had been on, mostly British television.
Well, his very first movie credit, before he did Lord of the Rings, he just graduated from acting school or drama school, and it was Black Hawk Down. He plays the young private that shows
that he thinks I'm here to kick ass, and then he falls out of the helicopter.
Yeah,
and everybody went, "Yep, that's the new guy."
That's a very Army thing. And that's another movie too that you brought in a huge conglomerate of just real seasoned actors, people you didn't always recognize.
How many of them do you recognize now, though? Like all of them.
Yeah, but
a great casting job. Oof.
Yeah. I mean, you look at every one of those people and you're like, God damn, they really did get it right. Okay. The actor that played the drug dealer that Arnold Schwarzenegger was chasing in Kindergarten Cop, I hadn't done a whole lot. I forget his name.
I remember the character's name was Terry Crews.
Yeah.
But not spelled like Terry Crews. That's a weird coincidence. Holy shit. Yeah.
I know, right. But he was in there as kind of like a hardened, sergeant. And you look at him and you're like, God damn, I could actually.
Oh, Terry Crisp, not Crews.
Right. But you also remember him being kind of the funny dickhead cop of would they arrest Ben Stiller and There's Something About Mary.
Nope.
And he was the bully in that.
In 3 O'Clock High. Holy shit. That's right.
Yeah.
And he was also in Black Hawk Down.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. And then Kim Coates playing kind of another seasoned ranger that you watch him from Sons of Anarchy, and you're like, that kind of it's just
Dude, Kim Coates is one of those guys that makes everything that he's in better. It's like Peter Stromar. Peter Stromar might only be in a movie for 30 seconds, but for those 30 seconds, he is 1000% involved in that movie, and he makes the movie about him, and everybody is drawn to him and is watching him. Like, I know everybody loves the Keanu Constantine, and he's just not English. He's not Constantine to me, but I think it's a good film.
right.
But Peter Stromar as the devil.
Right. My favorite role by Kim Coates ever in a movie will always be Goon, because he is the quintessential Canadian hockey coach. And I love when they're battling out, he's yelling at them like, you fuck your players, you fuck your players, you do.
Yeah, he was great. Goon's such. I gotta go watch Goon again.
I know it's on Prime right now, and I'm like, I need to sit down and watch, because really the best. It's the little things that you kind of miss in that movie, like the little kid that's holding up the sign on the glass that Glat in Hebrew means "fuck you."
Wasn't he in a tiny little part? Wasn't he in the very beginning of the first Bad Boys?
Oh, he was. Yeah,
and he carjacked them.
He was also the guy that Bruce Willis puts
right now. You're robbing a bunch of cops. He goes, "Oh yeah, well I'm a stand-up comedian and I suck. That's why I need your fucking car."
No, but he was also the guy that Bruce Willis puts his nose through his brain in The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah. Oh, gee, I forgot about that. Wow,
there's a deep cut for you.
Lighting the cigarette. Yeah,
yeah.
No,
touch me it again and I'll kill you.
Movie that's 20 years old. It's on Prime right now. Open Range with Robert Duvall and Kevin Costner. Great little western. He plays the enemy gunslinger.
And Kevin Costner shoots him
in the head.
You kill my friend. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. Bang. Well,
yeah.
How do you enjoying it now?
You know,
he killed him in Waterworld.
Oh God, that's true. Oh my God, he did.
Yeah.
Wow.
How many
times? That's a whole podcast right there. The forgotten roles of Kim Coates.
Did Kim Coates get any guest stars on Yellowstone where Kevin Costner killed him again?
No. No, that'll be the end of season 5. Kim Coates finally gets his revenge for all the times Kevin Costner killed him. He'll be the one that'll kill John Dutton. It'll come full circle. Anyway, so it's interesting to look at these two big movies that should have absolutely been successful, making millions of dollars and way beyond their budget. And the two movies that we've talked about are summer bombs, 4th of July bombs.
2 of the biggest bombs ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think it says a lot of things about, I don't want to say necessarily the fatigue that we have about movies, but the quality of the writing, pumping out too much nostalgia without any good storylines, and thinking that, or I like to call the J.J. Abrams effect. And
bad reboot.
Yeah, and just too much absolute meddling when it comes to what should be a good linear story. And yeah, we can absolutely blame Kathleen Kennedy. I'm sure she has been, part of the biggest problem. And nobody knows how to say no to her, or everybody's trying to keep the peace. So it kind of makes me wonder how much it really is her fault, or mismanaging everything, or James Mangold just not being a good fit to do this Indiana Jones movie.
I don't know. I think if Lucasfilm took a more hands-off approach, and just let him come, because this movie, it had multiple writers. That's another thing. Like lately in movies, do you remember when like 1 or 2 people used to knock out a movie, and it would be awesome? And now is it just me, or is it literally a case of too many cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah, no. It's definitely that.
And I think that's one thing the Writers Guild is like fighting for too. They want at least 4 writers on every project. And I think is what I heard from their demands. And I get why they're doing that, because they want to guarantee that they have jobs. Like, so I understand. I 100% understand that. But I also think it's moronic because, look, if you look at all the best novels, they're written by one, maybe two people working together. In the case of like the Expanse novels with James S.A. Corey being a pen name for two authors. So why is it that all of a sudden to write a good movie we have to have six writers? Like why?
How
Why
bad
is there
is
so
your
many
script?
competing visions?
Well, look at it this way. How bad is your script or lack of chemistry between writers that you have to bring people in? Yeah, that's a good example of Phoebe Waller-Bridges being brought in to punch up the comedy a little bit for No Time to Die because it was too dark. And you look at that perspective compared to the Coen brothers, who have unbelievable chemistry, who have written and done so many great movies in from dark comedies to just dark fucking movies like No Country for Old Men.
Look at Miller and Lord.
Yeah.
Like for the guys they fired from Solo. I'd like to point out.
No.
And I'm sorry, but didn't they just do two Spider-Man movies that were animated that out-earned Solo? Pretty sure they did.
Yeah.
Maybe Kathleen's regretting that one. Just going to go out on that limb.
Well, if you're not going to let your creative team create, then what's the point of having them? I mean, are we getting to the point now where studios are just going to say, fuck it, we don't need them, and we'll just let AI do it, and as long as it's a little bit nostalgic and has some feel-good moments?
Well, that's another point that the Writers Guild are going about. They want to make sure that if AI is used, they control it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that little sarcastic is not the right word, but offbeat little comedy movie that Al Pacino did about 15, 16 years ago, where to get the actress he wanted, he created a hologram. She becomes famous, and they are her scenes. Yeah. Because he was tired of dealing with like whiny artists and stuff like that, and it all completely backfires. But look, writing is hard enough that if you cannot have that chemistry, and I've written with people or helped people, punch up a few things of what I think it should be. But, early on when I actually wrote scripts or whatever, I had a good comedy writing partner, and we still do that flow. I mean, I wrote a few things for him during the pandemic that he could do on Zoom, and we came at it, and we always used to laugh that we came at it from a standpoint of he was more whimsical compared to me being dark. And how do we meet in the middle of this stuff that we agree on? And we wrote some really great fucking things. But if you don't find writers where you have that chemistry, that know how to go from point A to point B in their storytelling.
Well, that's also assuming, Marcus, that they're working together from the beginning. A lot of these problems, like take, for example, The Flash. The Flash has been in development for nearly a decade. It's had 6 directors and God knows how many writers.
Right.
And so this isn't just two or three or even 4 writers working together that didn't have chemistry. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 writers who have been working on the same project at different times over a decade. And it's been cobbled together into this Frankenstein's monster of a movie.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, this is just me being an author. One of the reasons I don't want to see some of my stuff being adapted into screenplays is there should be someone who does a screenplay that works with the author of a book to find the most concise way to narrow down that story, but still have the integrity of the story.
Sure.
And you can't fucking see that. And I've never shared a lot of stories that I've had. My book, Sex Game, I've had multiple people approach me about doing it. And I literally had someone tell me one time, but you got to get rid of the archetypes. And I'm like, you didn't read the book. That's the whole fucking point. Is it's a sarcastic look at that we are all an archetype of a different kind of character. That's the point of, that's the reason we have a quiz to figure out who you are. If you remove all that, then it's an entirely different story, and you're basically making Friends versus Sex and the City, or putting it all together, and that's not the story. So I'm like, go fuck yourself. But we're going to give you, I don't care how much money you're going to give me. I care more about my work and what I'm trying to do with it. And if you like the work, then you'll adapt it with me into a screenplay format. If you don't, then go write your own fucking shit. It's not hard.
There you go.
And you know what? We'll close it out with this. The greatest 4th of July summer blockbuster, Jaws, had one screenwriter who worked with Peter Benchley based on his novel. The hardest part was doing a concise linear story that became one of the greatest kind of horror action, adventure mystery movies. How to get it working. And they did cut out a lot. They, took out the parts about, Brody's wife having an affair with
Hooper.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary for the movie. It didn't drive the plot in any way. Good enough for the book of how these characters work together and stuff. But that's things where you work on to say, okay, here's the most important parts of your book that keep a very linear story and you still have the same end that get you from point A to point B. That's all they needed. And it worked out great. And we have a phenomenal movie. And then it took a little movie magic by a great director when the shark didn't work to absolutely make it work.
Yeah.
So
well, that's like the meme that came out a couple of years ago. It's the lyrics of Bohemian Rhapsody, one writer, one producer. It's the repetitive, like 5 lines over and over again lyrics of a Beyonce song that had 4 writers and 6 producers.
Yeah.
Music. What happened?
Yeah. It's just absolutely, it's just insane what Hollywood has done. I'm like, you know what? At some point, you're just going to cobble together scenes from other movies to make another movie and say that it's something original. Oh,
I honestly, I wouldn't shock me if it's already happened.
No. Or you're just going to get someone to kind of rewrite scenes from other movies and make their own movie. Oh, wait, that we do have J.J. Abrams. I forgot. Sorry. I kid, but it's partly true. But then again, I still love the movie Super 8. I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah, but that's also probably the last original thing he's done in ever. So there's that.
Let's not forget that Stallone's Cobra was originally the treatment for Beverly Hills Cop.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
So stranger things have happened.
All right. Quick little thing I want to mention. If you're looking for kind of an interesting documentary series, go check out Arnold's series on Netflix. It's only 3 episodes. His background, how he got to the point where he was, a little bit about him being governor. And it's really fascinating about him.
California.
Yeah.
California.
Becoming an action star and, everything he's dealt with. And I'll say this, I Brendan and I, with the other word, got to interview him for The Last Stand. He was very nice, a lot of fun. I met him 20 years ago at the American Airlines Center when I was still working there. And he,
Marcus, people ask me all the time what it's like to meet Arnold. And I'm just like, go watch the Fluffy bit on it because Fluffy nails it.
Yeah.
Hi, how you doing? Look at these lights. Isn't it fantastic? Oh, let me shake your hand. Oh my God, you're so stoned. You pump iron.
Yeah. Well, that's another one. It's like you just make great entertaining movies. And there isn't a movie from the 80s that you're like, the only movie that I would never watch again with him is that ridiculous comedy where he gets pregnant. Junior.
Oh, yeah, Junior. Yeah.
That was completely bad. Even the
but I will go back and watch Twins.
Absolutely, yes. Even the Last Action Hero is not as terrible. It's not good, but
yeah, it's a solid 6. But yeah, I would just like to point out. So you got Arnold with what's his show on Netflix? Fubar. And you've got Sly Stallone killing it on Tulsa King.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, they just know how to make entertaining. Like Tom Cruise, they just know how to be entertaining.
And there's still, still competing and still putting out good quality.
And I love Tulsa King. I can't wait for season 2 of Tulsa.
I know, right? So, all right. Well, I don't know what the future holds. Hopefully, the writers and the actors strike will get some major things changed till we get quality movies. So, one final question: is there any movie that you're absolutely looking forward to for the rest of the year? Chad?
Well, we mentioned Mission Impossible, but I'm so intrigued by Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to see what they do with this.
Yeah,
where they go with this.
that's actually mine. We do our press screening in about 10 days, and at the IMAX screen, and I love the casting of Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree, but I'll give you 2 different ones.
Okay.
For one, that's going to be direct to video, just because if you're a fan of 90s sci-fi, Babylon 5: The Road Home, that gets released August 15th. It is a animated feature featuring the what's left of the living cast of Babylon 5, and they've had to recast some people, which is why it's animated. But it is written and directed by JMS, John Michael Straczynski, who, for those who don't know, wrote 108 of the 120 Babylon 5 episodes and was the show runner on that. So I'm really looking forward to that because my wife and I are huge Babylon 5 fans. And then also coming later this year, Dune Part 2.
Yes.
That was.
Yes.
I didn't want to.
As a matter of fact, if I had 3 movies that I have to go see before this year's over, it is the 3 movies we've talked about: Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, and Dune Part 2.
You mean it's not Aquaman 2?
No, I don't need. I don't need to go see Amber Turd.
Nothing against Jason Momoa. It's funny. It's like I'm actually really looking forward to Fast 11 or Fast 10 Part 2 or whatever because of I enjoy him more as the villain, the ridiculous villain in this movie than I care about him as Aquaman. And he's a good Aquaman. I'm just like I don't care about the movie.
But he should.
That's why he needs to end. Yes, oh, damn it, Brendan. Shit.
See, should have been Lobo.
But
yeah,
yes, he should have.
There's that. But also, look, I don't want to see Aquaman 2 for the same reason why I didn't want to watch The Flash, because Amber Turd is just as crazy as Ezra Miller. I mean, not only did she first of all, I put it out there a couple months back when the whole trial was going on between her and Johnny Depp. I was like, shout out to all my ex-girlfriends who never shit on my bed. I appreciate all of you, whether or not we get along still, whether or not we ended amicably. I appreciate all of you for not
doing
dropping
that.
a deuce in my sheets. Okay. And then she went and dropped deuce in a street in Majorca, Spain a couple months later and got caught on camera. What is this chick's problem?
Well, she loves drama, obviously, but if there's ever a way to bring her and Ezra Miller back into the spotlight in kind of a cool, interesting way, there needs to be a story where they are cult leaders doing crazy shit.
That's not going to be a story, man. That's not going to be a movie, man. That's going to be a documentary.
That's what I'm saying. It could literally be a reality show.
They're the new Nexium or some shit.
Right. It'll be EdTV, and we're all just glued to it. What the fuck will they do next? Which, by the way, EdTV, still very underrated but fun movie. So, all right, everybody, we're going to wrap this up, and we will be back to tell you our thoughts on Oppenheimer, Mission Impossible, and even the Barbie movie. It looks kind of ridiculous, but, we'll see what happens with it. Honestly, I'm just in it because it's Margot Robbie as Barbie, and she looks good. And
yeah, I'm not going to go see that one. I'm not the target audience.
No, I'm only seeing it because we get to see it for free, and I'm just curious.
But I'm not going to give anybody hey, if they actually, you know what? If they make a better Barbie movie than Hasbro made a G.I. Joe movie, kudos.
Yeah. Oh, one movie that is coming out this week that I think everybody should see. I was pleasantly surprised by how funny it is. Joyride. Stephanie Hugh from Everything Everywhere All at Once is in it. And the best way I can describe it, it is the It is Crazy Rich Alien. Sorry, Crazy Rich Asians meets The Hangover.
I've now got this weird mashup in my head of Crazy Rich Asians and freaking Alan Tudyk's Resident Alien.
There you go.
I just see a bunch of Geiger aliens running around in Finny gear and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
Basically, it's the Asian Hangover, and I could not stop laughing about how ridiculous that is.
Wouldn't Crazy Rich Aliens just be Battlefield Earth?
Yeah.
Oh! Oh my God!
Another movie Kim Coates was in. So
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Instead of showing The Room every couple of weeks at the Inwood Theater in Dallas or in other theaters because it's so bad, why isn't there like a Riff Tracks Mystery Science Theater 3000 type style of a movie for Battlefield Earth?
why don't we tackle that ourselves?
They should do that as like the week the Razzies come out.
Yeah, no shit.
That'd be great. Like just have a marathon of horrible movies the day the Razzies are announced. That'd be amazing.
And the final movie will be The Flash. No, shit. Anyway, all right, everybody, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, guys.